Well, if you guys have been following me on this FJ40 Land Cruiser build, you know I kind of wanted to keep the exterior of this truck looking somewhat FJ-ish. I love the classic look of the FJ40. Now the interior, I kind of have a different idea on. This is really outdated, and I just want to modernize the entire dash, radio system, switch panels, instrument cluster. I already have a GM tilt column in here with an aftermarket steering wheel, so that definitely kind of helps the modern look. So I picked up a digital instrument cluster. Now I have an LS in this truck, so all the factory gauges are not really going to work. And then we have a new 10-inch touchscreen radio from ATOTO. This is their S8 Pro model. This is one of their high-end models. Now, I'm very excited for this. And then last but not least, we have a switch panel from Auxbeam. This is a 6-gang switch panel. So we're basically going to be able to hook up 6 different circuits on this switch panel. So we can do pods on the front, maybe a light bar on the front, maybe some rear lights, some rock lights, maybe interior lights. I haven't really decided yet, but I do know I want to use this panel. Now, this entire factory dash is welded into the cab, which is going to make it kind of a bear to work around. Plus, we do have some rust issues to deal with. So I'm basically going to keep what we need here. Obviously, we need ignition and headlight switch, windshield wiper switch, that kind of stuff. But some of these other switches we're not going to use. That's the game plan. Let's get cutting. Let's cut this dash out and figure out what we're doing to mount all these new goodies. Well, we got this entire dash cut out. Now we have basically a blank slate to build another dash on. So I'm stoked with that. We got the harness out. Now I am, like I previously said, I'm doing a whole painless harness for the whole body. So we got this, I think it's a 21 circuit, yeah, 21 circuit. But we still are going to need some wiring out of here. Like heater, obviously that is not going to have all the wiring from like the switches to the heater and windshield wipers, and maybe just a couple other little things. As far as I know, this harness has the power, just the power wire for the heater and the wipers and that kind of stuff. It just has a power wire, so we still need all that wiring in the harness, but everything else in here for like turn signals, headlights, radio, all that wiring should be here. And this is going to be so nice to just get rid of this entire harness. I mean, I did find some melted up wires. I don't know where it is now, but I definitely found some melted wires, and you know, it's just an old harness. So I figured might as well update everything while we're updating the dash. So complete harness, that's what we're doing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut this harness apart. We basically got to pull out these circuits for the wipers, the heater. I bought a new ignition. I don't think we'll need that, or the headlight switch, because all that wiring is in here. Plus I did buy the painless, or actually this is a Speedway, but same thing, just the aftermarket headlight switch. So we don't need that. Obviously fuse box we don't need. We're gonna have everything. So I guess really we already have a horn on that harness. I guess really all we need is wipers, heater, and I think really that's it. So we got some figuring to do with mounting this radio into this dash. So how this head unit is set up is it's basically supposed to mount into a double DIN head unit area, and then the screen itself sits basically outside of the dash. So it is sticking out like 3 or 4 inches. Now in your typical car, this is fine because obviously you got to clear everything outside of the dash to have this big old 10-inch screen. Now what I want to do on this is I don't want the screen sticking out from the dash, but there isn't enough room behind the dash to the firewall to completely make this screen flush with the dash. So basically what I'm going to do is make basically a trim bezel that pops out to the screen. These brackets only go so far on the factory radio. So what we're going to do is make new brackets that pull this radio farther into the dash so that our new trim bezel isn't coming out, you know, 4 inches. So I think 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches would look pretty good, just having a little trim bezel coming out to the edge of that screen. So while we're working on this head unit, let's talk about this thing for a sec. This is an ATOTO S8 Pro. Now this is a 10-inch. I wanted the biggest screen I could fit, and I really couldn't go any bigger than this. So most cars are going to take a double DIN. Now how this one is supposed to mount is into your factory radio location, and then the screen basically sits in front of your dashboard. So it is going to be kind of open behind it. I'm going to do my best to try to make a little bezel, like I said, to kind of conceal that and make it flush. But I don't know, the screen is pretty big, so it might be a little bit tricky to do that. Now if you guys want to check these head units out, I have a discount code for you. Throw it up on the screen. I've used these things in every build in the last like probably 4 years, and I still have yet to have a single problem with these head units. They work flawless. They have so many options. They have factory navigation installed. There's so many options on these. You guys definitely got to go check it out if you're in the market for a head unit. So not only do they have this big 10-inch screen, they have your standard 7-inch double DIN radios as well. This one I'm showing here, this is their 10-inch. Basically, these things are an iPad or like a tablet in your car. I mean, you can hook Wi-Fi up to it and you can watch videos on YouTube. You can go on the internet, download basically any app on it. You can see they also have some navigation systems here. This one here, I've never actually tried these, but if it's anything like their head units, they're top quality. You can see these ones just mount right on top of your dashboard. Looks like a super cool system. just about done with this dash now. I don't know, I was thinking about trying to make it bolt in this whole panel, but it's just gonna kind of be a pain to, you know, get fasteners on this little tiny ledge. So it's not a huge deal just because it's so open now with the big cluster here and then the big opening for the radio. And there's not many switches. We got headlight, wipers, and then these two are for the heater, and then a cigarette lighter and a USB. And then obviously ignition's right down here. So it's not a huge deal to me. I think I'm just gonna tack it in. So we got these little holes. Basically, we're just gonna spot weld that in. We're gonna weld down either side like it was factory. But before I wanna do that, I'm gonna flip this over. I'm gonna paint the back side of it just because once it's in, we're not gonna be able to paint it. And then I'm gonna put a little weld through primer along this bare metal here and here, just to keep that from rusting in the future. So we'll get that done and we'll get the back of this painted, and then we can throw it in, get it welded in. And I'm gonna powder coat the radio bezel and the cluster bezel. I think I'm gonna do the texture black from Prismatic Powders just because it'll kind of hide some of my little imperfections here in this bezel, which is not that bad. Just, you know, some of the grinds on the welds aren't perfect, so that texture will kind of hide that. So let's get this powder coated, get this thing in, and see what it looks like when it's all said and done. Well, that is the black satin texture from Prismatic Powders. It's almost like a sandpaper texture. It's not a super rough texture, but it looks really good. If you guys want to check this particular powder out, I'll have it linked. If you guys need any other powders, go check out prismaticpowders.com. They've been a sponsor for a while now because I absolutely love their products. And it's actually Prismatic owns Cerakote and Prismatic Powder. So same company, both the products are simply amazing. They just have kind of different applications for this. I mean, you could obviously use Cerakote, but powder coat is a lot faster. This stuff cures for like 12 minutes. You pull it out, you let it cool off, and it is completely cured. It is ready to be installed. Well, I got to give a shout out to another amazing company that I've been working with. That's CT Sounds. They sent over a few speakers for this build. So what I'm planning on doing is these 4-inch speakers up front in the cutouts we made in our new dash panel. And then they also sent a set of 6.5-inch speakers. I'm not going to mount these right now, but what I'm thinking is just buying some like roll cage mounts for these 6.5-inch speakers. A lot of people use them in like the Razors and the Jeeps. I do think I want to do that route just because there's not a whole lot of decent mounting options in the back of this thing. So I think we'll do the 6.5 up high off the roll cage. I think that'll be a decent sound. I'm not trying to go super crazy with this, just a set of 4-inch and a set of 6.5 just to get some noise in this cab. I think that'll be plenty. Well, there it is, guys. Dash is done. Turned out better than expected. I really Really like it. We got a couple things to touch up. I forgot to grind those little tacks down. I thought there was one other thing. Oh, we're waiting for all the screws. I bought some better looking screws for both the radio and that cluster bezel. I do have one quick question for all you audio nerds. As far as these speakers go, obviously the backs are wide open. Would it pay to make like an enclosure or a little box behind that? I'm not really sure about speakers. I know subs, obviously you have to have some sort of an enclosure, but as far as these little 4-inch speakers go, I'm not really sure about that. Like I said, the rear ones, obviously I'm gonna build a cage in here. I'm gonna have the rear 6.5s, you know, up there in the back corners, kind of pointed down. And I think with both the 4-inch and the 6.5s up there, I think we'll have plenty. Those will be enclosed in a box. But as far as these go, I'm not really sure. I thought about making just like a little sheet metal enclosure for the back of it, but let me know if you guys got any opinions about that. But we are good to go. I really want to fire all this up, power it all on, but harness is, you know, sitting over in a box. We don't have a single inch of wire in this entire rig right now. So once we get into wiring, we'll wire in the cluster, wire in the radio, check all that out, wire in the speakers, but that's definitely farther down the road. I just wanted to get this dash in, and I don't know, I really like it. I think it turned out sweet. What do you guys think? Well, that's a wrap on this one, guys. Honestly, like I said, I think this dash turned out better than kind of what I had in mind with the cluster and the big touchscreen in it. I think it's modernized now with the speakers, everything in the dash. I definitely think it looks more modern. It's gonna be a lot more fun in here looking at all the digital stuff, the touchscreen. The cluster isn't a touchscreen, but we don't really need to mess around with that. That's just for all of our gauges. We're mainly gonna be screwing around with the head unit because that thing is sweet. Like I said, it's kind of like an iPad. You can download any app from the App Store, install it on here. If you have a Wi-Fi connection, I mean, you can watch YouTube on it, you can do all sorts of stuff on it. I'm stoked to get everything wired in, fire it all up, and see how it looks all lit up. Well, anyways, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I need to plan our next video, which is gonna be more interior stuff. It's gonna be very exciting, so definitely stick around for that one. I'm excited, very excited to get started on the next one. Well, anyways, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I want you to go smash that thumbs up button, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one.